So, a bit of an unexpected development in the pacifist challenge. I think Pirate Seas might be the hardest world of the entire challenge. In fact, it's so difficult that as of writing this intro, I've had to take a break. I'm actually stuck on this world. This never happened in the Nut Challenge, nothing even close. I'll explain why this world is so uniquely difficult for this challenge as we progress, but before we get into the next world, I need to make some adjustments to the rules, because I'll be honest, I really half-assed them. Firstly, I forgot to mention that I can't manually send the lawnmower. I know the aim of the game is to kill all the zombies with lawnmowers, but if I set one off myself, that's no different to just using a jalapeno. Not very peaceful. Secondly, in my example of things I considered unpeaceful, I used the Hypno Shroom, but many of you rightly pointed out this doesn't hurt or even impede the zombie at all. And you're absolutely correct, that is a great point. But what do you think happens when the zombie who I've just influenced turns around and eats another zombie? The Hypno Shroom is still banned. No clue how I forgot to mention this one, but once again, there is no leveling plants in this challenge. Yes, I know the sunflower is level 2, but again, this isn't my account, and a level 2 sunflower is still weaker than every other sun generator I could possibly use. I promise you it makes no difference. I am allowed to damage zombies, just not kill them. This actually is very important and comes up quite often. Finally, and most importantly, due to this challenge being a bit more loose than usual, only using X plant, it's really important that we adhere to the spirit of the challenge more than the rules of the challenge. I'll explain it as it comes up, but this one's really important. Right, I think that's everything this time. Without further ado, let's begin the most unassuming nightmare I've ever played. Day 1 is business as usual. A year ago in my last challenge, I mentioned that Pirate Seas has the most nothing gimmick in the entire game. Just a couple of rows each level has less zombies than normal. Well, that statement will be my undoing, as this world gimmick is tailor-made to ruin this challenge. Again, I'll explain as it comes up, but I just want you to know that I might be the only person in history reduced to an angry molding mess by the Pirate Seas plank mechanic. Day 2 and the world has wasted no time showing us our first major hurdle, the seagull zombie. This doesn't look like such a challenge at first, a flying zombie that can't even fly over walls. But it does rob us of one of our absolute all-star plants, the hurricane. And here's our first example of what I meant when I said we need to adhere to the spirit of the challenge. When I played through this world on stream, the Twitch chat unanimously agreed that sending flying zombies off the stage is not killing them. There's no indication that they're damaged or hurt, and you see the bird fly away peacefully. But the issue of this is that it handles a difficult zombie. My goal for this challenge is to push the limits of the defensive plants, because they're just my favourite ones to use. And blowing away difficult zombies just isn't doing that to me. With all that said, however, the hurricane will blow regular zombies off the planks, killing them, so it's just not a good option to use anyway. So this was a bit of a pointless tangent, but I just wanted to explain my admittedly kind of vague rule. Anyway, moral of the story is day 2 was easy, and the powerful suck and blow strategy is pretty much off the table for this world. Day 3 and just using walnuts is already struggling. I have to back them up with the gum nut. Also, a lot of zombies off themselves in this world, either by firing themselves out of a cannon or just falling into the water. And regrettably, there's no plant I can use to force them to make better life choices. Day 4 and I failed already. This level lays on zombies really heavy for such an early day. But I mostly failed this one because I'd just returned to live streaming after like a year off and I wasn't able to play and read chat very well. Fortunately, there's no seagulls here, so the hurricanes were able to carry this one. Day 5 and I take the opportunity to use the suck and blow for a free win while there's no bird zombies. Except there was bird zombies and I'm just a bit slow. Since I can't use my favourite strategy, I decided to spend a bit of time in the workshop cooking up my own devious strategy. See, I like the suck and blow a lot, but people have been funneling garlic since the dawn of the franchise, so I want to do something a bit more me. And after spending way too long deliberating over every niche and weird plant, I stumbled across something big. Something that might just change the meta of this game forever. I call it Walnut Stall, but way worse. Let me break it down for you. It's a lot like Walnut Stall, but instead of building a wide board of cheap extendable stallers, we build one tall line of kind of expensive and much worse at stalling stallers. The core of this strategy is one of my absolute favourite plants, the aloe. This little cute guy is awful. It extends the durability of a walnut by like 5% at a push, and at the low cost of being 25% more expensive than just using another walnut. Putting pumpkins on top of these walnuts is also really pointless. It buys time for the walnut to just sit around and do nothing. This full setup fails to hold back any more than 2 zombies, and as a result, it didn't work. But I do feel like there's something here, it's just waiting to be broken. I will be returning to this strategy. I switched back to using the trail mix method, but this level is just too hard for using any nut that isn't exactly the primal walnut. So after switching up again to pure primal walnut spam and only an hour of attempts, we beat the notoriously difficult Day 5 of Pirate Seas. This challenge is so doomed. Ad break. Since you watch all of my videos like a good obedient viewer, you already know that GamerSupps is a zero sugar, keto friendly, less than 1 calorie alternative to energy drinks. But what you might not know is they're currently running a killer promotion. You can get a free waifu cup worth 24 quid with the purchase of any GamerSupps tub, which, might I remind you, is already 10% off and supporting me directly when you use code SHAGROT. Let me recommend you some flavours in case this deal perked your interest. My current favourite flavour is Titty Milk. It tastes exactly like the milk bottle sweets, they're my jam. Speaking of childhood favourites, if you're still mourning the loss of the greatest ice cream in history, the Calippo, then Guacamole Gamer Farts is for you. It tastes exactly the same, it's so good. And just like every other drink ever made, if you can't decide on a flavour, just go blue. Blue is like always the best flavour. Click the link in the description to get your free waifu cup now. This promotion's only while stock lasts. Thank you to GamerSupps for sponsoring my channel, and back to the video. Day 6 marks the very last of my sanity withering away. Just listen to my incoherent ramblings and tell me this is what an able-minded, sane individual sounds like.
I try not to discriminate against crackheads, because I'm just not one to blame them for anything. Like, the UK is absolutely fucked. Our government does nothing to help them, right? I sympathize with them. Like, I promise you, I'm not someone to get pissed off at like crackheads or homeless people for just like lounging around the city, right? Like, they've got nothing to do. I don't blame them for anything. Like, it's the government's fault. I wish they would stop stealing my post though. You know, that one maybe is on them a little bit. Like, I wish they would stop stealing my Yu-Gi-Oh cards out of the post. Like, what? They're not going to be playing Yu-Gi-Oh anytime soon. I'm sure. I can't imagine drug dealers take Yu-Gi-Oh cards in exchange for crack. I wish they would stop stealing my post.
After 40 minutes of attempts, someone pointed out that with most of the zombies funneled into 2 to 3 lanes, the solo tomato is huge value here, and honestly, this might have saved the entire run. It still took a couple more attempts after switching to the tomato, but we eventually got it done. Day 7 is the first time we're seeing the single biggest threat to this challenge yet, the barrel roller zombie. One of the cool things about this challenge is how it flips up the status quo of what's difficult in the game. I'm sure when I called this guy the biggest threat yet, a lot of you rolled your eyes and thought something to the effect of, the barrel roller's tough, sure, but he's nowhere near as bad as some of the later instant kill zombies. And to that I say, you are absolutely wrong. This zombie is a nightmare. See, his ability to flatten out nuts is annoying, but that's not the main problem here. If you move a barrel roller at all, either blowing him away or knocking him up or teleporting him through time and space, he gets disconnected from his barrel. And when that happens, imps pop out of either side, and more often than not, those imps will end up drowning to death. And it is my divine duty to safeguard these zombies, so it's my prerogative to make sure that doesn't happen. Luckily, the gumnut does hold them down, so day 7 wasn't too challenging, until I blew away a flying zombie 10 seconds before the end of the stage. I wasn't even aware that the seagulls can spawn on land, so that's really annoying. Up till this point, I'd been begging the game to give me a gimmick level so I could have a bit of a mental breather, but I was not prepared for this one. I generally got so worked up thinking of a solution just to load into it, and it's a pre-selected plant stage. Disaster avoided. That's a future Shagrot problem. Okay, I think this might be the best setup in the history of the franchise. Day 9 is one of them weird levels halfway through a world where they majorly bring down the caliber of zombie, so there's no birds. I decided to use the suck and blow just as a bit of relief, but I failed to realise that due to the weird setup of this level, all the planks are at the top. So instead of restarting and picking a different team, I created this masterpiece. I call it the Garlic Casino. You see, when a zombie bites a garlic, it will randomly go up or down. That's why I always leave them in the corners so you can force them a certain way. But with this setup, I am fully reliant on RNG. This led to some incredibly nail-biting and genuinely super funny moments, like when these two did a little tango, or when this guy made it to the very end of the garlic rows. I think this game could do with more funny random mechanics. Day 10, and I think it's time for another quirked up strategy. I call this one the Blessed Machine. It involves spamming infinites and power lilies to hold all 5 lanes at once. It's a cool idea that keeps flying zombies in line with other zombies, which has been a big issue so far. It really needs a way to reset zombies to the start, which unfortunately doesn't work in this world. But I think this could be a really cool way to deal with another challenge ender that I'm anticipating very soon. I decided to switch up to double solo tomato, which, man, this might actually be really broken. You could beat the entire game pretty easily with this strategy, if every world had 90% of zombies come in 2 lanes. That said, this level still took like 40 minutes to finish because the imp cannons lay on damage in a way that's really hard to deal with. Day 11 was the first level in so long which I took down first try, but there's still a couple important things to note here. Firstly, one of the major challenges in the pacifist run is that since we never kill any zombies, we never have any plant food. Because of this, the Power Lily is a powerhouse, and you'll be seeing her in most of these levels. Secondly, another staple that I picked up from here onwards is the Reserve Garlic. I've had to redo so many attempts where victory is narrowly stolen away from me by a single zombie that avoided the lawnmower. So by bringing in an emergency garlic, I can move it over to a lane with a mower intact. Finally, and most pressingly, the game is really starting to struggle with the amount of zombies on screen. Like, it can handle these zombies in the tens right now, but when you start to apply visual effects like the Solar Tomatoes glow and the Stolia's stank, it gets really laggy. This is really bad, as later worlds have magnitudes more zombies, and there's a real possibility that the game won't be able to handle this many. Day 12 is the legendary Coconut Cannon. God, I miss him. It feels so weird to describe Pirate Seas as such a difficult world, but here it comes again, the Captain Pirate. This guy might be the worst instant kill zombie in the entire game to deal with. What do the Wizard, Octopus, and every iteration of the Torch Zombie have in common? They all submit to the overwhelming might of the pink goo. Those zombies are all challenge-ending threats that can easily be dealt with by gumnuts and other suppressing plants. The Captain, however, he will continue to steal away plants while being gummed. This is just a prediction, but I think this is now the point where Walnut Stall has been power crept out of the game. It's basically impossible to maintain a war with the Captain about, so I really need to rely on instant use stalling plants. Luckily, day 13, where he's introduced, the game slows down a lot so you can get used to him, so this one wasn't too hard. This video has been way longer than usual due to the unique difficulty of this world, and it's about to get a lot worse. Buckle in for day 14 of Pirate Seas. This is a plan your defense stage. Off the bat, these levels are very challenging for a pacifist, but given how miserable this world has been, I decided to respect my own time by cutting the cute strategies and jumping straight to the deep end. So I brought out a plant that I was planning to save till the very hardest levels in the game. So it's time to unleash possibly the most broken plant in the entire game. If you thought that abusing Power Lily was too much, let me introduce you to 36 Power Lilies in one, otherwise known as the Reinforcement. This plant effectively triples the defensive power of our army, all for the low cost of literally nothing. With this uber powerful god plant, we're easily able to get absolutely thrashed. Turns out the Reinforcement's useless here. Not only do zombies just waltz through the Iron Maiden walnuts all the same, but the Reinforcement causes imps to launch into the seas, so it's actually worse than nothing. Great. Time for a different approach. Seeing as this level is riddled with barrels and captains, Gumnut will need to carry this. We get a lot of sun in this level, so I get a bit of a eureka moment. I used tile turnips to multiply the power of our limited plant food. This was such a cool idea that worked better than you'd expect. The issue was actually overkill. Half of the plant food would just fall off the map due to not having targets, so the tile turnips just aren't needed, and due to the overinvestment in tile turnips, it didn't hold very long. At this point, I decided it's time to start using more of the power plants I've been holding back on. The Boing Setter is a plant I'm surprised no one's commented on yet, because this is a plant that I think will end up being a major player in the later worlds. I'm backing this plant up with the mediocre but free Ice Mint, and at which point we might as well bring the Ice Bloom. This setup, in my opinion, is the highest ceiling of stalling in the game possible, so it should have no problem in the second world of the game. No, actually that makes sense, that's intuitive. That's actually really cool. I need to break this level down more to possibly find a way to beat it. As we already know, instant use plants here are a must, as the Captain will just steal anything permanent away. But these instant use plants don't stop the seagulls, so these lanes will still need to be reinforced. It's pricey, but it's necessary. Possibly the biggest innovation that Twitch chat suggested was using the Spearmint. If we use it at the very start of the level, we can dig up all the spike rocks to net ourselves a bit of sun. Nothing major, but enough to afford 2 to 3 more gumnuts. I'm able to do this twice at the start of the level, but you've got to be quick, because these spike rocks are insane. The last tech here we use is actually the Spikeweed. Remember when I said the Barrel Roller is so much stronger than other instant kill zombies? Well, there's another reason for that. See, he doesn't actually instant kill, he just does a lot of damage. So much, in fact, it's essentially an instant kill, but importantly it isn't. Zombies can't instant kill Gum, it's just premium pretty privilege. But zombies certainly are allowed to do a lot of damage to Gum. And unlike most turbo high damage threats like Gargs, this guy has a tiny health pool which perfectly denies the Gumnut's bonus HP. It's almost like this world is tailor-made to stop me from doing this stupid challenge, but I persevere. By using the Spikeweed to pop the barrels while they're out of plank range, we're able to not only decrease the amount of damage we're taking, but also increase the amount of Gumnuts left behind after each Gumnut. This strategy worked, but it took the last of my sanity. All in all, this level took a casual 5 hours of constant attempts. Just subscribe to my channel to restore my soul, please. Well, that level was actual biblical hell. I just beg the next level is gentle on my poor brain. You just can't make this shit up. Believe it or not, I'm actually prepared for this level. You can't do an impossible challenge like this without a little prep. So who's our unlikely savior for this challenge? A lot of you guys made some really good guesses in the last video, but clearly no one can think outside the box like me, because no one guessed that I would be using the Teleportato Mine. That's right, the plan is to stall out with the Suck and Blow, then teleport a zombie over the line with the Teleportato, triggering the lawnmower. Well, that's the theory at least, I've not actually tested it out. And it turns up, you can't dig the Teleportato Mine. I am shit out of ideas. I spent a lot of time trying different things out. Here's the new plan. We isolate a Buckethead zombie from the rest of the pack, and at the end of the level, we use a spikeweed plant food to move it over the front, triggering the lawnmower. Unfortunately, this one still counts as the zombie trampling the flowers. Now, this next one's a stretch. Maybe we can use my least favorite plant in the entire game here, the Sundew Tangler. The idea is that the Tangler subdues a zombie, at which point we use the escape route to relocate it. My jaw actually dropped as it started working, until it didn't. Look guys, I really didn't want to do this, but there's only one way I see out of this situation. The only solution to this problem as far as I see is to teach the zombies a more divine route out of this level. Now many of you have already pointed out, the Solar Sage is on the table. It doesn't hurt a zombie, doesn't disappear a zombie, in fact you could argue that it's improving a zombie's well-being. And that's about as pacifist as it could possibly get. But I will be keeping the use of this plant to an absolute minimum for 2 reasons. One, this plant is beyond broken, it would trivialize the challenge. It's like the Explodonut on nuclear steroids. And maybe more importantly, reason 2, I don't think forced religious indoctrination is the pacifist path you guys think it is. Regardless, I'll be using this monster on the absolute hardest levels in the game, and even then, only once per stage. Day 16 was one of the 2 levels I was most dreading. We need to protect some rather malicious little beings trying to kill zombies themselves. Luckily, thanks to my audience who is much better at this game than I am, you pointed out in the last video that the escape route is a godsend here. And you're right, it trivialized the level. For the first time in maybe 8 hours of grinding, this was an easy level. Day 17 didn't have anything too stand out to deal with, so I decided to try a new strategy. I like to call this little maneuver the powerful Hollywood film producer, as the plan is to accumulate an obscene amount of wealth so we can gum on anyone we want with no repercussion. It worked a treat. Again, it's a bit overkill and didn't really handle the seagulls, but it did a good job. Day 18 is a conveyor belt level. I cannot believe I'm saying this, but I wish this world had more conveyor belt levels. Day 19, and man, that's really soon. We did the same thing we did a couple level back, so you know what that means? It's time for Shagrot's patented micro presentation.
And for this world, I'll be educating you on the most underrated animal on Earth. And what do I consider the most underrated animal on Earth? The dung beetle. Dung beetles are one of my favourite animals of all time, and I think it's really unfortunate they get such a bad rap. Dung beetles are unbelievably strong. People don't understand quite how strong a dung beetle is. The average human can lift roughly twice its weight. The average gorilla, considered to be the strongest non-insect on Earth, can lift 10 times its own weight. The average ant, that is often incorrectly considered the strongest animal on Earth, can lift 20 to 50 times its own weight. That's the equivalent to a human lifting a car. But the dung beetle, the average dung beetle can lift 1,141 times its own body weight. That is the equivalent of a human lifting 3 full cement trucks. To me, there's a real cosmic irony to the dung beetle. To lift such an incomprehensible amount of weight makes it the pinnacle of biology. There is no animal as strong as the dung beetle, and it has spent its evolutionary history perfecting its ability to lift just to move poo around. If there's a god, he has a wicked sense of humour. Dung beetles aren't just strong though, they're incredibly intelligent. Dung beetles will climb on top of their big poo balls, and they will stargaze. They will look up to the sky and take a mental image of the stars, and that's how they navigate. That is just unbelievably cool. That's the end of this week's presentation. I hope you have a bit more respect for the dung beetle.
Day 20 and the game starts doing that thing where the last levels of the game are randomly baby easy. The toughest zombie on day 20 was a conehead. We take those. Day 21's a simple sun collection level. 2,500 is pretty weak as far as challenges go. Have I not been tested enough? This level is the ultimate test in durability. In my first attempt, I created what might go down as the absolute worst combo of plants possible. I don't even know what to say, that is horrendous. The Jorking It Tall Nuts, unsurprisingly, did not hold very well. One takeaway from this attempt though was that the breaks in the cannon fire do leave a really small window to use the reinforcement without killing any imps. With this strategy in mind, I go for a similar strategy but using gum nuts to benefit from the reinforcement. I know that the pumpkins seem a bit insane when I can go for more bulk for much cheaper, but I really want to keep the first couple areas free to afford myself space to use the reinforcement. This plan worked surprisingly well. I did eventually cut the pumpkins in favour of more gum nuts, but this level took under an hour to beat. That's a huge dub. Clearly I was too confident after that, as the game chucks us another flower level, but it made the mistake of including seagulls. Because of that, I'm able to maneuver them around and trigger the lawnmowers without ever using a Solar Sage. Day 24 is the level that I dreaded most. In the Nut Challenge, this was one of only 2 levels I had to cheat on to beat.
Those two beings have cost me hours of my life stressing over this level, but in a much needed twist of fortune, the escape routes make this level pretty easy. Frustratingly, I realized only on the last level that I could have done the Suck and Blow basically the entire world if I just replaced the Hurricane of the Gum Nut. It achieves basically the same result. And after one more under-designed yet overcooked level, we beat another world. I'm not gonna lie to you guys, if this challenge gets any harder, I'm gonna have a breakdown. If you're watching this video within the first 6 or so hours of it coming out, then I'll be streaming the next world on Twitch. So come watch me lose my mind facing what might be the biggest threat to this challenge yet. Thank you all for watching very much. Cheers.